U.S. charter flights repatriate Chinese illegal immigrants for first time since 2018. Over 20 buildings in Hefei residential area flooded at night. Water reaches 1.5 meters deep. China faces simultaneous drought and flood, prompting reflection on human-nature relationship. Western investment banks cut Chinese staff numbers, reach multi-year high. Analysis: CCP reveals 4 major risks. Third Plenum fears loss of power. It's all covered in today's China Truths. U.S. charter flights repatriate Chinese illegal immigrants for first time since 2018. On Tuesday, July 2, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, DHS, announced that during the previous weekend, the U.S. had organized charter flights to send back Chinese individuals who were trying to illegally enter the country. This marked the first large-scale repatriation effort since 2018. The DHS did not provide the exact number of individuals involved in these flights, but mentioned that more such flights are planned for the future. Secretary of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, stated that we will continue to enforce immigration laws and repatriate individuals who have no legal justification to remain in the U.S. He further explained that the DHS is committed to upholding U.S. immigration laws by imposing strict penalties on those lacking a legal right to residency, in alignment with international obligations. The department has conducted over 120 international repatriation flights to more than 20 countries, including China. The DHS also highlighted its ongoing engagement with international partners across the Western Hemisphere and worldwide to ensure that those without a legal right to stay in the U.S. are accepted back into their home countries. The department also undertakes additional measures to curb illegal immigration, foster safe, legal, and orderly entry processes, and hold transnational criminal networks accountable for exploiting the U.S. legal trade and travel systems and for their involvement in smuggling and exploiting vulnerable populations. The Associated Press reported that this operation resulted in the repatriation of 116 Chinese migrants who had entered the U.S. illegally. Amid deteriorating U.S.-China relations, it has become increasingly difficult for Chinese nationals to secure U.S. visas. The stringent measures taken by the Chinese Communist Party during the pandemic, including zero-COVID lockdowns and heightened internal monitoring, which adversely affected China's economy, have driven many Chinese nationals to flee the country. Consequently, there has been a significant rise in the number of Chinese attempting to enter the U.S. illegally through the U.S.-Mexico border. U.S. government data shows that nearly 56,000 Chinese migrants were detected at the entry ports along the U.S.-Mexico and U.S.-Canada borders during the fiscal year 2024, up to May. This number surpasses the 52,700 recorded for the entire fiscal year 2023 that ended last October. In 2023, Ecuador emerged as a crucial transit hub for tens of thousands of Chinese citizens aiming to reach the U.S.-Mexico border. Many of these individuals eventually crossed the border into California. Many Chinese migrants undertake a perilous journey of over 3,000 miles from Ecuador to Tijuana and other areas in Baja California, traversing through jungles, deserts, and cities to reach San Diego County in the U.S. The majority of these migrants surrender themselves to the U.S. Border Patrol and seek asylum. On June 18, Ecuador temporarily suspended a visa exemption agreement with Beijing, citing a worrisome increase in illegal immigration. Analysts believe that although new alternative routes will likely emerge, the costs for migrants may increase, and Chinese nationals will continue to seek entry into the U.S. Rahm Emanuel, the U.S. ambassador to Japan, mentioned in an early April interview with Jordan Schneider of China Talk Self Media that Chinese authorities are arresting entrepreneurs and forcing them out of the country. This has led to a decline in entrepreneurship, high youth unemployment, and capital flight from China. In a 2023 interview with Zara Media, Emanuel commented that both Chinese people and capital are fleeing overseas, and the outward appearance of calm in China hides a nightmarish reality. Over 20 buildings in Hefei residential area flooded at night. Water reaches 1.5 meters deep. According to a report by mainland media Jimu News, on July 2, a resident in Hefei, Anhui Province, Ms. Zhang, posted a video stating that Yulan Court in Yaohai district of the city was flooded due to river water backflow late at night, and the water depth on the first floor exceeded an adult's chest. The community has more than 20 buildings. Because the water was so high, the doors and windows on the first floor could not be opened. It rained continuously throughout the night on July 1st. Ms. Zhang stated that she lives on the 4th floor and her home was not flooded, but there have already been water and power outages. The community does not have an underground parking lot, and cars and electric vehicles parked on the road surface were submerged. Ms. Zhang said that her electric scooter is likely to be completely destroyed. In a video, a resident said that everything in their home was about to be submerged. The Anhui Meteorological Department released information stating that from 8 a.m. on July 1 to 5 a.m. on July 2, 1,318 stations in the province recorded rainfall exceeding 50 millimeters, accounting for 30.2% of the area, with an average rainfall in Hefei reaching 77.5 millimeters. Hefei has been battered by heavy rainfall lately. Anhui Dewan News reported that on the afternoon of July 1, Ms. Wang, who lives in Hefei's Economic and Technological Development Zone, noticed the water level in a nearby detention basin rising rapidly. The water, normally calm, now looked drastically different. Worried, she quickly contacted property management to ask if she should move her car, which was parked underground, as a precaution. China faces simultaneous drought and flood, prompting reflection on human-nature relationship. Under the erroneous guidance of the CCP's man can conquer nature, extreme droughts and floods are becoming the norm in China. Severe droughts in the north and severe floods in the south are not only bringing risks to the populace but also sparking reflection. In Hunan Province's Kaishan County, it has not rained for over 2 months. Fields that should be lush with corn have now turned into brown, dusty wastelands. Local farmers told the Epoch Times that the land has long since cracked, and there's not even water for irrigation. The village wells have dried up. Some farmers have managed to pump water for irrigation, but they worry about the sudden increase in irrigation costs. With purchase prices for corn and wheat declining, leased land is no longer profitable. In such a drought, they have to invest more money, essentially working for free for half a year. This drought has affected 8 provinces in China and is the most severe that many locals can remember. One Hunan farmer said he had never seen such a drought in his 50 years of life. The Economist reported that China has 6% of the world's fresh water but needs to meet the drinking water needs of 20% of the global population. Uneven distribution of water resources exacerbates this challenge. Increasingly extreme weather is testing China more severely. Over the past month, China has simultaneously experienced northern droughts and southern floods, leading to dozens of deaths. In the south, it has rained for about 20 days a month. From late June to early July, heavy rains caused disasters in many parts of the south. 8 provinces experienced heavy to torrential rains, and many meteorological stations issued red alerts for heavy rain. Scientists predict that China will experience more rainfall and longer drought periods. Facing the extreme weather, some are asking, how small is mankind in the face of nature? In addition to floods, the South has faced drought every year for the past 3 years. According to data from the World Weather Attribution Network, heat waves in China have become 50 times more likely. 40% of China's population lives in the north, where most provinces' water scarcity levels fall below the UN's water scarcity threshold. Researchers from the Chinese Academy of Sciences estimate that damage from drought alone has cost the Chinese economy $7 billion annually from 1984 to 2015. Ironically, a report from the nonprofit China Water Risk released in April 2024 found that 41% of China's data centers are located in drought-prone areas, using large amounts of water for cooling. The same is true for many of China's water-intensive coal-fired power plants. At the same time, another trend brought by climate change is hitting western China. The glaciers atop the Himalayan peaks are melting. These glaciers provide water to major rivers in China and other Asian countries. Since the 1950s, 1/5 of these glaciers has melted. Currently, the melting glaciers are making parts of China wetter. However, by the middle of this century, the runoff from meltwater is expected to decrease. One affected area is the Darien Basin in Xinjiang, which is home to 12 million people, and about 40% of the water there comes from glaciers. China's water problems are the evil consequences of the CCP's belief that man can conquer nature. The Frankfurter Rundschau once commented on China's water issues, saying, "China's water problems have evolved into a conflict between development and nature." Although the government has, ostensibly, strengthened legislation and enforcement to protect nature and water resources, Beijing's leaders still seem to believe that man can conquer nature. In the past, the CCP launched large-scale water projects like the South-to-North Water Diversion Project. These projects not only failed to meet the expected goals but also further damaged nature. The Frankfurter Rundschau said, "The reasons for water scarcity are not only climate-related, increased water consumption is also a factor. The industrial sector is drilling deeper and deeper wells, causing groundwater levels to continuously drop. Flooding along riverbanks is a consequence of population growth and industrialization. In recent decades, many floodplains have become residential areas, and wetlands have been drained. Because many forests and river valleys have been cut down, rainwater rapidly flows into rivers, turning them into raging torrents. Western investment banks cut Chinese staff numbers, reach multi-year high. As the market in China slows down and profits shrink, Western financial institutions have halted their years-long expansion in China, reducing the scale of their investment banking personnel in China to the highest level of cuts in years. According to recently released annual reports, 5 out of 7 Chinese securities institutions under Wall Street and European banks experienced losses or profit declines. This has been followed by a wave of layoffs, with these 7 securities firms employing 1,781 people in 2023, down 13% from 2022. Since 2018, the number of employees at these securities institutions has almost continuously increased. Even in 2020, when hiring was difficult due to COVID-19 restrictions, the decrease in employee numbers was less than 3%. Currently, China's real estate industry remains sluggish, broadly affecting market sentiment, and the growing tensions between Beijing and Western countries have significantly slowed down China's capital market activities. In an interview with the Financial Times, Lin Hancheng, head of China operations at the consultancy firm The Asia Group, said that Western investment banks are caught in a vicious cycle. Weak transaction flow means reduced investment in onshore capabilities, which in turn limits further transaction flow. Lin noted that some banks have lost patience with their Chinese operations when opportunities in India, Southeast Asia, and the United States appear more promising. Meanwhile, Jamie Dimon, CEO of JP Morgan Chase, stated at a conference in May that the bank's investment banking business in China has seen a precipitous decline in recent years, highlighting the challenges Western financial institutions face in China. Morgan Stanley's China division experienced its first loss since 2019 last year. JP Morgan's joint venture in China saw its profits drop by 55% to 119 million yuan, approximately $16 million. Morgan Stanley's division noted in its annual report that the environment has been challenging. According to data from transaction tracking firm Dealogic, as of May, the scale of initial public offerings, IPOs, in China was only $8.3 billion, the lowest for the same period since 2009. The data for 2023 contrasts sharply with 2021, which was a record year for global investment banks, with 6 out of the 7 banks making profits in their Chinese operations. Analysis: CCP reveals 4 major risks. Third Plenum fears loss of power. The Chinese Communist Party Politburo held a meeting on June 27 and announced that the third plenary session of the 20th CCP Central Committee is scheduled for July 15. The Politburo has determined that the theme of the third plenary session is to study further comprehensive deepening of reforms and promote Chinese-style modernization. However, many observers are not optimistic about this meeting. On June 30, veteran commentator Yan Chungo posted on Facebook that the official news releases related to the third plenary session are filled with clichés and empty talk, showing no new ideas. Those who hope that the third plenary session will introduce concession policies will be deeply disappointed. Yen Chungo believes that advanced countries such as the United States, the United Kingdom, Europe, and Japan have never encountered issues like the modernization of the national governance system and governance capabilities. The CCP has ruled for more than 70 years, maintaining an autocratic dictatorship, experiencing many political and economic crises, but the CCP has never paid such high attention to the so-called national governance issue before. He said, because the party media controls speech, they can govern the country with lies, the government controls the armed forces, and any unrest is suppressed. What governance problems can there be? He believes that the CCP now needs to use a third plenary session to study national governance at the height of national policy, proving that national governance has encountered a crisis. If this crisis is not resolved, the nation will cease to exist. Currently, the internal and external difficulties are severe, and the CCP is at a loss, facing collapse. Striving for survival has become an urgent problem. How to govern a country that is riddled with problems, struggling to survive, has become the top priority and urgent task. The article pointed out that Xi Jinping recently stated at the Politburo study meeting that the CCP is facing 4 tests and 4 dangers. The 4 tests are the test of governance, the test of reform and opening up, the test of the market economy, and the test of the external environment. The 4 dangers are the danger of mental slackness, the danger of insufficient capabilities, the danger of being out of touch with the masses, and the danger of passive corruption. In the history of CCP central meetings, no party leader has ever so comprehensively and pessimistically presented the critical situation facing the party, which equals a detailed annotation of the life-saving philosophy for the third plenary session. Yen Chungo stated that today's situation is different from the past. The CCP's internal and external affairs have never deteriorated to such a bad state. Past crises were controllable, but today it is beginning to get out of control, with a bleak prognosis. Now, survival is the only choice. Regarding market expectations that the CCP will find ways to improve the economy, Chinese Premier Li Qiang stated at the Summer Davos Forum in Dalian, Liaoning, on June 25 that the Chinese economy cannot take strong medicine and currently needs to consolidate the foundation and nourish the essence. However, Li Qiang's statement about not taking strong medicine has been censored in mainland China. Wang Guocheng, an associate researcher at the China Economic Research Institute, told the Epoch Times on June 26 that Li Qiang's remark revealed that the Chinese economy is beyond remedy. Yen Chungo also stated that foundation is the foundation of CCP's governance, and essence is the essence of socialism. Once the CCP is no longer in power, both the foundation and essence will be lost. In short, maintaining CCP's governance is the most significant issue, and without this foundation and essence, everything else is meaningless. Therefore, the entire meaning of the third plenary session is only about maintaining stability. Before the third plenary session, under the backdrop of continuous economic decline, the authorities issued successive warnings to the party, government, and military, with the Ministry of Public Security continuously intervening in the economic field to maintain stability. On June 5, Minister of Public Security Wang Xiaohong mentioned at an expanded meeting of the ministry's party committee, strengthening the monitoring and early warning of financial risks, and cooperating to do a good job in preventing and resolving risks in key areas such as small and medium-sized financial institutions, local government debts, and real estate. On June 24, Wang Xiaohong emphasized maintaining stability in the first item of a national video conference of public security organs, stating fully safeguarding political security. Before the third plenary session, the Central Commission for Discipline Inspection spent 3 months interpreting the revised regulations on disciplinary actions of the Communist Party of China, commonly known as party rules, repeatedly warning party members not to speak out of turn and not to touch the high-voltage line, etc. Since last year, the Minister of State Security Chen Yixin, who has intervened in the financial field, published an article in the CCP Party School publication on April 29 this year, stating that the Ministry of State Security will carry out the 5 anti-struggles of anti-subversion, anti-hegemony, anti-splitting, anti-terrorism, and anti-espionage, and claimed to resolutely eradicate nails and internal traitors. Stephen Roach, former chairman of Morgan Stanley Asia, who has praised the Chinese economy for many years, published an article last month stating that he recently met with a large group of Chinese entrepreneurs, and before the third plenary session, people's pessimism is worrying. On June 23, former Inner Mongolia official Du Wen posted on X platform, stating that the current political atmosphere in China is already very bizarre. The authorities' purge of the military has led to further turmoil within the military. Economic downturn, high unemployment rates, judicial injustice, and political obscurity have brought the social-psychological pressure of a large number of people to the brink of collapse. Du Wen stated that with the imminent third plenary session, the entire line is in crisis. The political, economic, and military turbulence in China directly reflects the CCP government's rapidly failing leadership and control capabilities. Back to Yen Chungo's post, he said that since this third plenary session is themed on maintaining stability, the future CCP will focus on the security of its regime, becoming more reactionary and barbaric. The situation in China will become more dangerous, and the Chinese people are at a critical juncture of life and death. Continuing to endure will turn China into an enlarged North Korea. Rising up in resistance will require great sacrifices but offers a chance to escape the brutal rule of the CCP. Don't forget to leave a comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. Make sure to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths.